Welcome back. You're still watching the Daily Debate, and I'm honored to be having with me over the program for tonight Engineer Mohamed Azzam, the technology and development expert and member of the International Association for the Management of Technology. Thank you very much for being with us tonight on the Daily Debate.
Thank you, and always pleasure and honor being with you. Thank you.
The pleasure is all mine. Of course, we have spoken several times about the importance of technology, but for today we are focusing on sustainable development for the globe and sustainable development to be developing here in Egypt. What is the role of technology in sustainable development for Egypt?
Actually, the role is quite clear. It's the backbone for any development. If you need to have a sort of sustainable development, you need to have a robust economic system coupled with trade system, coupled with technology development system, and all of them are supported by public policy. So, but your question, of course, technology is the main driver for the sustainable development.
Yes.
If you look at Egypt Vision 2030, if you look at each pillar of this vision, you cannot ignore the importance or the role of technology in achieving desirable objectives and sound results in all aspects when it comes to economic development, when it comes to education development, healthcare system, social justice, environment, and part of the Egypt 2030 vision, of course, is innovation and entrepreneurship. And there was mentioned during your report, and
yes,
of course this is another key pillar and another key driver for achieving this vision by 2030, which is one of the great ambitious plans that have been there for the last 8 years, or maybe more than the last 8 years. And of course, for the first time for many years, we haven't had such great ambitious plan for developing Egypt, and go for the specific goal of having Egypt as one of the top 20 to 30 top economies all over the world. And of course this needs a lot of effort and needs a lot of innovation when it comes to the business model, when it comes to the how we conduct business, how we find the right legal framework for boosting the entrepreneurship ecosystem here in Egypt, the ease of doing business, and so on and so forth. So it's a very comprehensive actually outlook of Egypt, and of course this is very desired, and it's actually is becoming on the top of the agenda of the Egyptian government and the Egyptian state, and of course under the auspices of His Excellency the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. So it's very connected, it's very holistic approach for developing the country on all other aspects and all other business domains and sectors. So it's really, I think it's one of the great plans that have been in Egypt for maybe half a century now.
Of course, Doctor, we need economic policy recommendations to be reaching this sustainable development for the upcoming 6 to 10 to 20 to 30 years for the future of the country. But how can we be connecting those recommendations of the economic policy with the digital transformation that we are already undertaking under the tenure of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi now?
If you need to modernize your economy, you need to do two things actually. You need to consume technology to the maximum. You need to update your infrastructure that equipping your infrastructure with the latest technology, that especially with the special focus on the Industry 4.0 or beyond Industry 4.0 concept and notion and techniques. So you need to consume the technology in your production lines. You need to develop technology for your products and services as well. So it's a combination between product technology and production technology. As well as you need to own some technologies that will make the difference. Actually, this will create startups who could be unicorns that evaluated with more than $1 billion US. And we are witnessing so many Egyptian startups now. They are becoming unicorns in different fields, that including the financial services, the education services, the healthcare system, the logistics system. So this is becoming now a fact actually, is not
Yes.
is not a dream anymore. So this is one aspect of developing your economy, is to consume the technology. But however, what makes the real difference, what make you having a sort of leapfrog, is to own technology in one of the most emerging or the most important emerging technology, with a special focus on the next generation telecom system, when it comes to artificial intelligence and unlimited applications of artificial intelligence. If you need to work on R&D in specific domains like the biotechnology and smart cities and the application of smart agriculture, the smart irrigation systems, the smart production, the smart logistics. So if you need to be competitive, if you need to be resilient, you need to employ technology to the maximum in every single aspect within your economic ecosystem. Otherwise you will be outdated, and if you are outdated, you will never be able to be competitive, and competitiveness is totally dependent on technology, and again forever actually, since the first industrial revolution till the moment today.
Yes, Doctor, you mentioned a very important term, which is we need to be consuming technology to the maximum, and we know the efforts that are being exerted by the political leadership, by the government of Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, to be consuming technology to the maximum, especially on the individual level, on the economic level, in the banking sector, in the fintech. What do you think, on the other hand, the individuals, the Egyptian citizens, they are consuming technology to the maximum, especially in terms of their mindset, in terms of the culture? They need to be changing their culture to be using technology more and more during their daily lives?
If you look at the statistics, actually you can find 100% of the population owning smartphones.
Yes.
And
100% of Egypt.
Yes, 100% of Egyptians owning smartphones.
Yes.
And like 80% of the population are on the internet. And like 60% of the population are using e-commerce platform. Actually, Egyptians are spending like $12 billion on e-commerce platforms,
yes,
domestically and internationally. So Egyptians are using the technology, but they are using the technology when the technology is convenient and easy to use,
yes,
and has a value for them. That's why if we are now designing any service that based on technology, we need to bear in mind that the service or the product we are providing to the citizen are quite convenient, are quite easy, and we need to build what's called digital trust. And thanks to COVID, actually, this increased the digital trust factor a lot among Egyptians, because we forced to work from home and to study from home, and there was lockdown, and there was social distancing.
Do you think on the human level, on the global level, not just for the Egyptians, do you think we need to be forced to be using technology? We need to be forced to be using the e-commerce, for example. We need to be forced to be going online. On the other hand, if we have the option, if we have the choice, we prefer the cash, for example. Do you think we need this obligation?
Sometimes you need such crisis to force you to have such technology, because you have the technology in hand.
Yes.
You need to be sure that the technology is there for making your life better, to ease the way you conduct your business. It would be a tool for you to have a more relaxed, more advanced life. And of course, the COVID, for example, actually
yes,
pushed this specific kind of usage a lot further forward, because we had to. And once you have this culture, things will grow automatically, will grow actually organically. So it's very important to have such shock at the beginning, especially
yes,
if you are not used in a community like Egypt. We aren't used, we are cash-based community, and look at the numbers after almost since 2016.
yes,
We had like 30% financial inclusion. Now we have like 70.7% financial inclusion. The cashless payment increased from almost 15%, 20% up to 40% and almost this figure is almost as or equals the international.
Do we need to increase those figures?
Definitely all the time, but you need to increase such figures by practice, by availing more services, by making even payment in cash more expensive than payment in using electronic instruments.
Yes.
Or digital wallets, or your mobile wallets, or your credit and debit cards. And we've seen this great application of InstaPay developed by Central Bank of Egypt. Actually,
yes,
it changed the way we use cash, actually, even with small groceries, even with small pharmacies, even between individuals and each other. So it's becoming a culture. We need to embed such culture within the community, and things will evolve naturally. So that's important, and sometimes you need to have such a huge shock like that we had during COVID-19, and to push things further, to build such kind of trust in our digital instrument, to establish this kind of culture of dealing remotely and dealing with this kind of digital platforms.
Yes.
To conduct your business, to deal with your banks, to transfer money from one place to another, to buy things online, and actually this helped us actually in availing so many services when it comes to the public service digital Egypt platform, that we have like 168 services now, and we have like more than 8 million subscribers using such a platform. They had like 45 million transactions over a year or more.
And Doctor, you mentioned that we need to be using or consuming technology to the maximum, and we need to be changing the culture of the Egyptian individuals and the Egyptian citizens to be using more and more technology. But on the other hand, how they see the progress of the infrastructure serving technology, serving artificial intelligence, serving the digital transformation that is sought after by the political leadership over the past decade under the tenure of President Al-Sisi?
Actually, if you look at the nations who survived COVID and were able to have a swift recovery from the COVID-19, there were the nations who invested heavily in ICT infrastructure, that including Egypt. Imagine the pressure on the ICT infrastructure caused by the COVID outbreak, and due to actually we had to have a sort of lockdown, and we had a sort of working remotely and studying remotely, and without having this kind of robust ICT infrastructure, everything could be collapsed. And actually Egypt was able to pass this crisis and prove that we had, and we are always actually upgrading our ICT infrastructure to meet the international standards, including the internet connectivity, that including the high-speed internet over the mobile networks. The 4 operators actually signed the agreement for availing the 5G, the highest kind of or the most advanced type of mobile connectivity.
But when can we be seeing it implemented?
Actually within few months, because they already signed the agreement with the government, and I think within the first quarter of 2025, I think we're going to witness the first launch of 5G. And actually you cannot compare the speed of internet over 5G compared to what we have now over the 4G, and this will open also a new horizon for a lot of applications that need real-time kind of data transfer that would be very helpful in so many applications, including the healthcare system, including the transportation and logistics systems, including the education system, including a lot of other industrial applications. Of course, that with this kind of speed, a lot of things will be changed actually. And by the way, our way to consume the technology will change accordingly, because once you have high-speed internet, actually on the personal level and on the corporate level, you're going to consume the technology differently, and you will be able to use so many different applications that we're not able to use with the current speed of the internet. So things are evolving together, and with such technology and with such infrastructure, you will be able to embed the most advanced technologies in your services, in your products, such as artificial intelligence. So you will be able to use the artificial intelligence for gathering data, having a sort of data analytics, having a way for foreseeing the future, to be prepared for any challenges that might arise, and you'll be able to be prepared to be resilient, which is very important, because the resilience is becoming very important after COVID-19 and after the Ukrainian crisis. Economies, societies, they need to be all the time resilient, and you cannot be resilient unless you are totally dependent on technology and totally dependent on up-to-date infrastructure and up-to-date applications. And we are witnessing a lot of applications, not only in the public service, but also in so many industrial applications and commercial applications, as well as so many other sectors, including the healthcare, of course, including our agriculture system, our irrigation system, our industrial sector, our logistics sector, our transportation sector. Even now you are able to make your cities more smarter.
Yes.
And of course, smart cities is not an option anymore, because you need to be have this kind of agility, this kind of or have this ability to be more responsive to any challenges, to any crisis, and to have a better optimization of your resources. That also will reflect on the quality of life for citizens and business as well.
But with better technology, with more technology being involved in our daily lives, do we expect more security, more cyber security in our daily lives as well? Because we know more about the crimes that are being committed in the cyber world.
Definitely. Actually, cybersecurity is becoming a major concern to all nations, actually, all over the world.
Yes.
You need to be up to date as well, having the appropriate measures for protecting your infrastructure, to defend your infrastructure, to defend your data. That's why we are seeing now data centers. Egypt is building data centers. Egypt is employing new technologies for defending its data, for defending its networks. And if you look at the report issued by the ITU, or the International Telecom Union, it's the UN agency concerned of internet and telecom and ICT in general. Egypt is becoming among the top 25 countries all over the world, out of 190 countries for the cybersecurity, because we have a strategy for cybersecurity. We are implementing the state-of-the-art cybersecurity techniques in our infrastructure and our data, and as well as we are having a sort of developing so many related technologies domestically, which is very important to own such technology within the country that is Egyptian made, or made by Egyptians, or made by Egyptian entities and companies, as well as you are making a lot of progress on the level of international cooperation with other nations, so having a sort of knowledge transfer, and of course you're building ties with so many international entities are working or specialized in cybersecurity. So that's why you are becoming among the top 25 countries all over the world in this domain, because cybersecurity actually is becoming a real threat.
It's a priority.
for all nations actually, and without the ability of defending your networks, your data, your infrastructure, you would be very, actually you are at very high risk, and Egypt as a country wouldn't accept such risk, and that's why we are investing in cybersecurity heavily, and we are developing so many technology related to cybersecurity. We are updating our infrastructure, we're updating our defense mechanism when it comes to the cyberspace, and to make cyberspace here in Egypt safe for Egyptians, for the businesses, for individuals, for the government, and so on and so forth.
But to be having better infrastructure, updated infrastructure, and more technology, to be consuming even more technology in the future by the Egyptian citizens, how do you see the importance of those two factors being reflected on the Egyptian economy? Do you think it has a link between having better infrastructure, better consumption of technology, and the Egyptian economy, of course, getting more investments?
Definitely, because you are sending a message to the investment community all over the world that you are a country that is using the 21st century tools. And you are up to date, and you have your way of conducting business using the technology. You are able to absorb the new technologies all the time. You are employing the most advanced technologies in your economic and social sectors. You are using your technology in your government services. The government has a vision for the technology. If you look at the Egyptian community, and the percentage of consuming the internet and the percentage of consuming the smartphones and data over the mobile networks, it's almost the same as the international percentage, and of course we are almost at the same level of any consumption compared to the most advanced nation. Of course, without having ICT as the backbone for your every single economic and social sector, of course you will be able to attract investment. You will be able even to give the right signal to the investment community all over the world. So it's a mandate. That's why you are always keeping your network infrastructure up to date. You are keeping your software systems up to date, and you are availing so many services online, from the government to citizens and to the business. And this is very important for having a sort of governance and giving the right message that you are eradicating bureaucracy, you are eradicating red tapes, and you are progressing towards having a state-of-the-art kind of economy that is totally dependent on technology and dependent on having a sort of digital governance for your operations, and you have the ability to optimize your infrastructure, your resources, so you are becoming competitive and resilient, which is very important to any investor coming to Egypt to see such improvements. So it's a pillar, actually it's a main pillar for attracting investment today and tomorrow.
Yes, Dr. allow me to be going to the other report of the daily debate for tonight, focusing on Egypt's commitment to the green economy, launching more and more initiatives for the green infrastructure and green technology as well for the future of the country. We'll be having more details in the upcoming report. Stay tuned.